transferred to Manchester United now.
Football predictions.
If Rangers nil, Ipswich Town 1.
Football predictions.
Hi, it's Peter Guest, and I'm here with the Moose for another episode of the footballpredictions.net podcast covering Premier League games for the 9th to the 10th of November 2024. And you can see all the details for the matches we're about to discuss in this podcast on our website, footballpredictions.net, along with the fixtures from just about every other football competition in the world.
Yes, and on our website, I'll show you where to watch the games on local broadcast channels plus video streaming services, as well as match odds from local bookmakers. You can also look in the description of this podcast episode for the direct clickable links to all of the matches we are about to discuss. Geolocation and live streaming rules apply. 18 plus, gamble aware.
Right to our first featured game, which is on Saturday, the 9th of November, 3 p.m. kickoff. West Ham United in 14th, taking on struggling Everton in 16th. And of course, you can visit footballpredictions.net to see your local kickoff times, betting odds, and broadcast streaming channels tailored to your location for this game. This one's on Sky Sports, main event, BBC Radio 5 live on the radio. You can watch it on Now TV and all the Skies, basically. West Ham came off a bit of a thrashing, didn't they, last week?
Yeah, they did. West Ham picked up that 4-1 win. If we go back a little bit, they picked up that 4-1 win at home to Ipswich. We had picked that win for them as well. We did say 2-1, but we did pick the win, and we did pick both teams to score as well in that game. However, then West Ham went to Spurs and lost 4-1. We did predict a heavy defeat in that one. Then they picked up another win at home against Man United. However, they then went away from home again, and then they lost 3-0 at Forest. So definitely a tale of home and away here for West Ham at the moment, looking quite strong at home, although they have probably played some weaker opponents there, and United obviously not in the best of form. That was Ten Hag's last game in charge as well. Now, for Everton, they also had a disappointing result last week, because after a spell of 5 matches without a defeat, they went to Southampton and lost 1-0. That was Southampton's first win of the season. We did predict a low-scoring game, and generally speaking, when Everton has played over the last 6 games, has been low-scoring games. Just one of those 6 has ended over 2.5 goals. This could be another close encounter in terms of goals, and probably low scoring as well, considering that West Ham also needs something from this game. So a fairly nervy game between these two sides. When it comes to Everton as well, if we look at some of their previous results, they had that defeat at Southampton. They then had a 1-1 draw at home to Fulham. We predicted that by the correct score. We had 1-1. They beat Ipswich 2-0 away from home. They got a point at home to Newcastle. Then they had a 2-1 home win against Crystal Palace, and then the other game where they picked up points of that sequence of 5 matches was a 1-1 draw against Leicester. So look, the wins have come against opponents really in the bottom of the Premier League, which was Ipswich and Palace. The point at Leicester as well, they would have anticipated more from Southampton, and travelling to West Ham, who has done well at home over the last couple of games. That's going to be a tricky test for Everton.
Yeah, they're unbeaten in the last 2 league matches at home, West Ham. But Everton's an interesting beast this season. They've not conceded their games. They don't tend to be a lot of goals involved in Everton games, and they've actually their goals against tally. So the ones they've conceded in the last 4 games, as the last 6 games, is only 4 goals. But they've only scored 6 themselves in those games. And this one's away from home. We think that it will be low scoring, this game, given that. And West Ham have been involved in a few high scoring games, but it's usually goals being hit in the back of their net, unfortunately for them. So we think it's going to be low scoring. We're going to go for an under 2.5 goals game in this one. And you can get odds there of 2, which is fairly good, we think. But if you want us to give you a correct a winner, we're not going to go for a draw. We're going for a West Ham win. We think they'll just clinch it. West Ham win you can get at odds of 2.15. But in terms of what you can get for a correct score prediction that we'll give you is 1-0. and 1-0 odds there are 9.5. So yeah, under 2.5. We don't think Everton will get a goal, and we'll see how it goes. But in that poll, 65% of you think West Ham will actually win as well. Only 20% give Everton hope of the win, and the other 15% would be a draw. Odds-wise for Everton to win, 3.5. Odds of a draw, 3.4. And like I said, West Ham, the best price there you can see, is 2.15. Next, we've got Wolves, who are in bottom position in the table, taking on Southampton, who are second bottom in 19th. This one kicks off on Saturday, the 9th of November at 3 p.m. UK time. Of course, this one is actually available on a few channels, but go to footballpredictions.net. You can find your localized kickoff time odds, TV channels, and streaming services. It's like Southampton have actually maybe turned the corner a bit.
Well, they had their first win of the season against Everton last weekend, a 1-0 win, which would have been that elusive first win that they needed. And they're now travelling to Wolves, who is without their first win. So Wolverhampton has not won a game all season. They have been fairly unlucky in terms of picking up points. They picked up some late goals, though, at Brighton to pick up a point there, but then they were leading at home to Palace and conceded another late equaliser. Now, that game against Palace, we did predict a draw. It ended 2-2. At Brighton, we predicted both teams to score, and it ended 2-2. And then in their home game previous to Palace, they ended with a 2-1 defeat to Manchester City. And guess what? We had predicted 2-1 in that game as well. We also predicted Wolves to lose at Brentford, to lose at home to Liverpool, and to lose at Aston Villa. And all of those outcomes also came in. But yeah, against the Southampton side here, Wolves will probably sense an opportunity to get their first win of the season. Although Southampton, like we said, they're coming off the back of that 1-0 win against Everton. They also had a win in the EFL Cup against Stoke. It takes them through to the quarterfinals of the tournament. And at Manchester City, they only lost 1-0 in that game. That was an early goal from Haaland in the 5th minute. And they then sat it out for the remainder of the game, not conceding. So if you look at Southampton, they've actually not conceded a goal in nearly 2 games, because that Man City goal came after 5 minutes. So they've done pretty well there, because it has been at the back that Southampton has struggled. They've been conceding quite a few goals. Prior to that Man City game, they conceded 3 goals at home to Leicester, 3 goals away to Arsenal, 3 goals away to Bournemouth. But it does seem like they have narrowed that down now and worked a bit on their back four. So let's see against Wolves how they're going to get on. But no matter what, this is going to be a very nervy game. Wolves looking for that first win. Southampton would not want to go to Wolves here and lose. So it's going to be a very close game.
Yeah, and Southampton now, like I said, have strung a couple of wins. The EFL Cup game, of course, against Stoke was the first one. But then they actually won the Premier League against Everton. So what can be said about that, really? It's not much of a guide. But, against Wolves, they seem to have their problems. In fact, they are winless against Wolves when they play them away from home in the last 7 matches in the league. So that's not great. And they've also not won, of course, away from home in this season in the last 5 league matches too. But so if you're a Wolves fan, you might be thinking, well, I mean, Wolves do have a couple of bogey teams that they've got the wood over, and they've not been beaten in the league by Southampton in the last 8 games altogether. So it's quite a long run without a loss to them. But like we said, they haven't won at home in the league in the last 6 games. So very frustrating times if you're a fan of both of these clubs. But we think in this one, it will be close, tight. No one wants to lose. It'll be maybe an under 2.5 goals result. And that's what we've gone for here. You're going to get odds there of 2.2. But in terms of result, we think it will just be a Wolves win, and you can get odds there of 1.95 at the moment. So yeah, they're quite heavily favoured. We've gone for a correct score prediction of 1-0. So that under 2.5 could get you 1-0 or 2-0, and you can get very good odds of a 1-0 win to Wolves of 10 and 9-1. Regarding the price for Southampton, they're up at 3.7 for an away win. and the draw is 3.75. But on our website, do go on our website and vote yourself, or have a look at what other people are voting for. 50% of people think, Wolves will get the home win, and 20% believe Southampton will come away with the points, with the other 30% opting for a draw. Next, we've got Brentford in 12th. We take on Bournemouth in 10th. This should be an interesting mid-table battle. Kicks off on Saturday, the 9th of November, and another 3 p.m. kickoff, so it's not televised here in the UK. But for this game, if you're outside the UK, look on our page for this. You'll find it in link in the description on footballpredictions.net, and you can see your local kickoff time, betting odds, and of course, available viewing options. Quite patchy form for both of these, really. But, Bournemouth beat the mighty Man City. But then again, doesn't everyone do that these days?
Yes, indeed. Like Man City now on 3 defeats in a row, right? With that Champions League defeat. But yeah, for Bournemouth, that was another great home win. They followed that up with from that Arsenal 2-0 win, and then they followed that up with a City 2-1 win last weekend. It was a great result for Bournemouth. In between that, has to be said, they went to Villa and got a point as well. Picked up a point at Villa. It's not bad. So good run of form from Bournemouth, who did have their last defeat was at Leicester, probably a game they would have been anticipated to win. And when it comes to Brentford, and when we look at Brentford, like really, again, a tale of home and away. At home, unbeaten this season, but they have been playing opponents predominantly in the bottom half of the Premier League. So their wins have been picked up against Ipswich, Wolves, Southampton and Palace, who are literally making up the bottom 4. And then they had a point against West Ham, which ended 1-1. Now, last home game against Ipswich, that was a really late winner, like 96th minute. Otherwise, it was 3-3 until that point, ended 4-3 against Wolves. It ended 5-3. So some really entertaining games when Brentford are playing at home. The last match in the Premier League, though, Brentford was on the receiving end of some late goals. Like they were leading 1-0 deep into injury time at Fulham until Harry Wilson came on and rescued 3 points for Fulham, scoring 2 goals deep into injury time. So that would have broken Brentford hearts. And it's whether they can recover from that heartbreak at home to a Bournemouth here.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting game, this one. And you look at their past results, Brentford haven't been beaten in the league by Bournemouth in the last 7 games.
No, so, and sorry, I just forgot to mention that Fulham game, those 2 goals would also have rescued a lot of correct scores from the followers of football predictions, because we predicted Fulham to beat Brentford 2-1 in that game. Yeah.
Thank you, Harry Wilson.
Yeah.
Yeah, left it late, but we knew that was going to happen, didn't we? So and then looking at like I said, Brentford haven't been beaten in their last 5 home league matches, so they're doing pretty well. But you know what, the visitors have also done pretty well, and they but they haven't won away from home in their last 3 league matches, so a bit of a conundrum there for them. But they haven't beaten Brentford in games played away from home in their last 9 matches in the league. So it's not exactly a good away record for Bournemouth against Brentford, is it? So, but yeah, this one we think is going to be 2 teams coming to really good form. And we like the look of both teams to score in this one. They're kind of free-flowing football and, really quite positive. So we've gone for a BTTS, both teams to score, and that odds you can get only of 1.5, unfortunately, but something probably a little bit tastier for you is our full-time result prediction, because that's a draw in this game, and you get really good odds of 3.6 if you like the look of that. And with the sort of the nature of these teams, they're doing a lot of draw, win, loss, draw, win sort of stuff. We think it's going to be stalemate, and fingers crossed it is, because you get good odds. We're going to go for a correct score prediction of a high-scoring one, 2-2, and odds there you can actually get of 12, 11-1. On a 2-2, obviously it's a rare one, but yeah, if you get that, you'd be quite happy. In our poll, just so you know, 22% of you think Brentford will win. A massive 43% think Bournemouth will get the win. With the rest, which is 35 odd percent, think also a draw, with most of you thinking a score draw as well. So go to our page, which you'll find in the links or the description of this, on footballpredictions.net, and you'll be able to take part in the poll as well. Maybe that'll change a little bit before the actual kickoff. But yeah, the bookies prices for Brentford 2.5, Bournemouth 2.7. So yeah, Brentford just slight favourites, with the draw, as we mentioned before, out at 3.6. So yeah, it'd be a really good match to watch, we think, too. Next, we have got Crystal Palace all the way down in 17th versus Fulham, who are doing pretty well in 9th. And this one kicks off at 3 p.m, of course, on Saturday, 9th of November. Do go on our page on footballpredictions.net, click the links and you'll find all your localised kickoff times, odds, TV channels, streaming services, and that kind of thing. Yeah, Palace haven't lost now after being so winless for so long. They haven't lost since that game against Forest.
Yeah, so Palace finally got their first win of the season. Well, you only have one win in the Premier League. That was at home to Spurs the weekend before last. And then they traveled to Villa, beat them 2-1 in the EFL Cup before they picked up a point at Wolves last weekend, a point that we predicted. We said that game was going to end a draw, and it ended 2-1. But yeah, the last defeat was at Forest. That was a game where we predicted Forest to beat Palace 1-0. We also predicted Palace to lose at home to Liverpool, and then we had them in a both teams to score game at Everton where they lost. So yeah, they had a string of 3 defeats, but now in the EPL after that game against Spurs, they now picked up 4 points from the last 2, and this is probably a game they will look at to eye some points as well, although Fulham is by no means going to be an easy task, because Fulham this season, they've only lost 3 games, which was away to Man United and to Man City and at home to Villa. So those are the only 3 defeats. Apart from that, they picked up points from 7 matches this season, and the last one, of course, was at home to Brentford. We just covered that game. We predicted Fulham to beat Brentford 2-1. We probably didn't anticipate Fulham to leave it that late, but nevertheless, Harry Wilson rescued this prediction with his 2 late goals against Brentford. And guess what? At Everton, we said it was going to be 1-1, and it ended 1-1 at Everton. In the game against Fulham, we had both teams to score. It ended 3-1. Fulham's home game to Aston Villa, we had both teams to score in that game. It ended 3-1 Villa, and at Manchester City, we had Man City to beat Fulham in a both teams to score game as well, and ended 3-2 to Manchester City. But looking at Fulham and at Palace sort of getting into form, including that EFL Cup win, they'll be quite optimistic ahead of this game against Fulham. Of course, Fulham coming off that great win against Brentford, but they did struggle to break Brentford down for really a long period of time in that game. They did pick up a point against Everton the game prior to that. This is going to be a very close game as well.
Yeah, these Palace Fulham games tend to be very close affairs all the time. Like all the ones I can remember, they're often really go close to the end of the game. There's been a lot of draws. If you look at, let's have a quick look here at the history, the head-to-heads. If you look at games going back to October 2020, they've played and Crystal Palace have won 1 game, Fulham have won 1 game, and the other 4 have been draws. So a lot of draws in this fixture. It's very close. They're very evenly matched, generally speaking. And the last game they played was back in April, where it was Fulham 1, Crystal Palace 1. So that kind of goes to show it. And we're thinking no differently in this one. We think this one should also end up being so close that we can't separate them. We've gone for a draw. Odds there you can get of 3.5, which is very healthy. We think they're both in pretty good form. I mean, Palace now, sort of seem to have broken their duck, and they seem to be coming into a good patch. They're at home, so we think they'll score. We think Fulham, though, they're doing well. We think they'll also score on their travel. So we've gone for both teams to score. Prediction here, 1.7 are the odds on that. Now, in terms of a correct score prediction, we've gone for a 1-1, and you can only get odds of 7 for that, so it's not brilliant if you go for a correct score. So I'd probably stick to the others where you get much better value, especially just on the draw itself. And regarding our poll, 34% of you think Palace will get the home win, 31% think Fulham will get the away win, and the other 34% believe it will be a draw, and 24% of that 34% think it'll be a score draw. So everyone's kind of thinking the same kind of thing regarding the prediction. There's nothing in the betting. 2.6 for Palace. You can get 2.63 for Fulham, with the draw, as I mentioned, at 3.5. So maybe better to stick to the middle ground on that one. Right, that's our main games done. We'll go to the summaries now. Brighton, who are 8th, take on Man City in 2nd now. And this one is on at 5:30 p.m. in the UK. Go to, of course, footballpredictions.net's page for this, and you can find your local kickoff time, betting odds, and broadcast streaming options available. Yeah, Brighton have had haven't won now since they beat Newcastle on 19th of October. And anyway, for this one, we have gone for a 1-2 away win to City. So 2-1 to City. That's a both teams to score prediction, which we think is highly likely. And yeah, looking forward to seeing that one. City in desperate trouble at the moment for their standards.
Yes, and then first place Liverpool take on Aston Villa in 6th, and that game kicks off at Saturday, 9th of November at 8 o'clock UK time. Now, for this game, we're going with a Liverpool win, so a home win. We're going with both teams to score, and we're going with a correct score prediction of 2-1 Liverpool.
And the next game we've got is high-flying Nottingham Forest, reliving their glory days, up in 3rd at the moment, taking on Newcastle United, richest club in the world, down in 11th. This one kicks off at 2 p.m. on Sunday, the 10th of November. This one's all over TNT Sports, I think, and so a lot of places broadcasting this one. So for this one, even though we've got those two teams in usually do tend to like goal scoring, we've gone for a surprise draw. And actually, we've gone for an under 2.5 goals game in this one. And we've gone for a 0-0.
Yes, and then on to Tottenham Hotspur in 7th, taking on Ipswich Town in 18th. And this game also kicks off Sunday, 10th of November at 2 p.m. UK time. Now, for this game, we've got high-scoring Spurs, the other most-scoring team in the EPL, with a win. And we've got both teams to score, and then we've got a correct score prediction for Spurs of 3-1.
Sounds about right. Next, we've got Manchester United, who are in 13th, taking on Leicester City in 15th. Wow, not much daylight between those two at the moment. This one kicks off on Sunday, the 10th of November at 2 p.m. In the UK, of course. And for this one, we have gone for a return to winning ways at home, of course, Old Trafford for Manchester United. And we've gone for both teams to score as well, though, because they do have their issues at the back. We've gone for a 2-1 prediction to Manchester United.
Yes, and now on to the final game of this match week. And what a game it is. It's Chelsea in 4th, who takes on Arsenal in 5th. And this game kicks off Sunday, 10th of November at 4:30 UK time. Now, for this game, even though we would like fireworks just after bonfire night, we're going with a bore draw, 0-0 in Chelsea Arsenal. So under 2.5 goals, a draw, and correct score of 0-0.
Yeah. Now, in the description of this podcast, of course, you'll find links to the games we've just been discussing, or just visit our website. Come and see us at footballpredictions.net. That way you can browse all the online sources to see the games from your location by streaming and TV channels, all our predictions, all the lineups, predicted lineups, that is, different betting markets, as well as all the best betting offers and odds. And if you like this, we produce these podcasts for a number of competitions, as well as the Premier League, and you can listen to them all on podcast.footballpredictions.net, or, of course, YouTube, Spotify, Apple, all the places you normally get your podcasts from. That's all for today. Thanks for joining us. And until the next time, it is
Goodbye.
bye for now.
Football predictions.